Hello and welcome to another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman, and I'm joined by my usual cohorts, the Professor Russ Stevens, Uncle Joe McLaughlin, and he's JP's first son, Tim Howie. Oh, we have another great show for you tonight. So, boys, let's get it started. Well, needless to say, boys, we have to start with the Boston Celtics. I don't like watching games and watching shitty teams play and have to root for them. But that's where we were last night, rooting for the Atlanta Hawks, who beat the Heat. And I know the Heat looked bad, fellas, and all, and they looked old and cooked. But we know that they have the Celtics number, and we wanted no part of them. So it was a good night for the Celtics, Russ.
Very good night. You know, at a minimum, the Heat were going to beat the shit out of us for, 5, 6, 7 games? Could go 7. Very physical. Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, freaking Kyle Lowry. Those guys are just very physical. They're going to make it tough. We would have beat them, but they would have made it hard for us.
Yeah. Joe?
I think we would have handled them very easily. No more PJ, not as physical. They just don't have near the talent that Atlanta has.
God bless you, Joe, but that team, I wanted no part of that team. Couldn't
did
be
you
happy.
Watch them this year? They stunk. That's why
Doesn't
they were
matter how much they stink against everybody else. They get under our skin.
Yeah, I think they're one of those teams that just pops their head up in the playoffs, and they were a shot away from beating us last year.
Yeah, that was with PJ and Jimmy Butler actually playing. He didn't even play this year, really.
Timmy, the Heat are New York Giants.
Yeah, they don't match up well, and Jimmy Butler just seems to really get motivated, and tough guy to stop when he's motivated.
Joe, you can at least admit Atlanta just is not as mentally tough or physical as the Heat.
Oh, in the coaching,
right,
which helps with a rookie coach. Because Spoelstra would have Missoula jumping through hoops. It's
a lot easier to defend Trae Young than it is Jimmy Butler. Come on. Are we kidding? Trae, you can shoot those 32-footers all night long.
Let's see what our man Marcus Smart does with Trae Young.
Yeah. Oh. Look, the Celtics were 3-0 against them in the regular season. And, come on. We needed this because the idea of going to the finals, going through the Miami Heat, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Bucks, I don't know. What would we have left going into the finals to get through those three?
Similar to last year.
You
needed a break, Timmy. You needed
a break.
Well, that's exactly right. That can work both ways. I think in some ways that tough route toughened them up a bit last year.
It exhausted them.
I actually think
they had nothing left.
Yeah, they had nothing left last year.
But Miami kind of got them, the Nets got them ready for Miami, and then Miami got them ready for Milwaukee. Kind of like, but that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is they were obviously beat. Tatum was a shell of himself in the finals.
He was. Those series took. Look, had they taken care of business against Miami or taking care of business against the Bucks, I think they would have saved them at least 3 games. I think they would have beaten Golden State if they had not had to play those extra 3 games.
Well, Russ, you talked about a few years ago in the bubble, that same scenario where
same thing.
Yeah,
remember that brutal loss to Toronto, that last second where he put he put someone on the ball. He put someone to guard the inbounds pass, and they hit the shot at the end of the game and extended that game by that series.
Wasn't it like Taco? He put cover.
It was Taco. Yeah. He put Taco on the ball, and you're like, why are you defending the inbounds pass with 2 seconds left?
Then Jalen just stood there.
It was a great catch and shoot too.
Yeah. Of course, but
it's when we're going to talk about the Bruins, it's the same path. You got to play as few games as possible on your journey in the playoffs. Because you still have to win 16 games. 16 games, boys.
Yeah,
that's right.
I mean, that's a lot of basketball. What scares you about the Hawks?
Trae Young.
They're inside
bananas.
game. Capella, Collins. What did they have? Over 70 points to paint yesterday? They can score inside.
Yeah, for me, it's just that Trae Young goes absolutely bananas in 2 games and wins you 2 games because he scored 50 and hit a bunch of threes. But I'm not really. I mean, it's always like knock on wood. You don't want to jinx yourself, but they should be able to beat Atlanta. I'm sorry, that team is just not mentally tough.
Atlanta just doesn't play defense for the most part. That's
exactly
what makes
right.
it easy. And if we can get the rebounds, which will give us the extra possessions, which is what a 3-point shooting team needs. More possessions, you win.
Timmy, I would rather face Trae Young than Kyle Lowry any day of the week. I don't care what. Lowry kills us. He killed the Hawks last night. He's just a clutch guy.
He's a pro.
Yeah.
I'll take him on my team any day of the week.
Yeah, no matter the guy he's 50 pounds overweight half the time, and he's still.
I mean, just look at what that guy did last night. He was like, a zombie who came back from the dead. He was nowhere this year, and look what he did last night.
Yeah, automatic.
Well, that is a playoff team. Whatever the coach does, whatever they do, they I don't care what they are all season, and I'm so grateful that they're out. So grateful.
Who's the coach of Atlanta now, Russ? Is it Snyder?
Yeah,
Quinn Snyder. And by the way, I think Atlanta will be good next year because he'll get them in a system. I mean, they get some good players, and I think we saw the best of them last night. But I don't think
DeJounte Murray is another one to look out for.
Very good player, yeah, very very good player, high quality player. There's no doubt.
Joe, what worries you about the inside game there for?
Well, no, Capella and Collins have always kind of had our number on the inside, but I like to win the rebounding battle. A team like the Celtics, they win the rebounding battle, they win the game because it just gives them more possessions.
And the Hawks play no defense, literally no defense at all. And you felt
Trae Young's not defending anytime soon.
They're not really a tall team. They got Clint Capella at 6'10", Bruno Fernando at 6'10", and then it's
John Collins.
Then it's 6'9" Collins. Then not a lot, just
Bruno Fernando, Celtic legend.
Was he on our roster?
Yeah, he was, right?
Yeah.
Did he ever play?
He was, yeah.
5 seconds.
Yep.
But look, this is a perfect first series matchup. There's no question about it. This is the kind of team that you want to play to, get a lather up, but it's like a businessman special, Joe, right? Sweet.
It's sort of like the Nets. Tune it up for you.
It's a 5-game series, but that's why we'll go to the predictions now. Russell, what do you predict in this series?
I think 5. I think on average it'll be 5. Could I imagine it being 6? Could I imagine it being 4? But let's just say 5. I think you're right, Scotty.
Yeah. Joe?
It depends who wins the first game. If Atlanta wins the first game, it goes 6. If the Celtics win the first game, it goes 5. The Celtics win either way.
Timmy, if this Atlanta wins the first game, the panic that will be in this weekend, right? Timmy, what do you got?
Us included. I think the Celtics will mentally take a couple of nights off. I get the Celtics in 6.
Yeah. I'm hoping it's 5. I think you just set the tone. Remember, it's all about the wild card is Rob Williams. When we talk about rebounding Joe and stuff, Rob Williams just changes everything for that team. And you push Trae Young out. Now Russ, you push him not to the 3-point line. Now he's willing to take shots 5 feet beyond the 3-point. Happy to do it. Go ahead and do that for us.
Hey,
guys, I think that
will there be any nights off? Will there be any resting guys during the playoffs for the Celtics?
No, well, there's going to be no back-to-back, Tim. And no back-to-back in the playoffs.
In fact, like 3 days break, I think.
Yeah.
Saturday to Tuesday.
I think, guys, my suspicion for this whole playoff run is going to be it's about Rob. To me, it's just 2 things. It's about Rob and do they hit shot? They're going to lose a game or 2 every series because they just can't hit from 3. And we know how dependent from 3 they are, right?
It's
but
kind of scary.
If Rob plays, they're going to be able to win 4 games in these series. I'm really confident about that.
Russ, you bring up a great point as usual. We're so dependent on the 3. They're like 3 junkies, and we've all seen them have just stone cold nights. And that
They're open shots overall, and I mean, these are open shots, and then obviously
there's still 3-point shots.
I think the key is that now all of a sudden you have Brogdon and White muscling on Trey Young, and he's a very light guy.
Brogdon will post him up every single time.
They're going to lean on him.
What is his defensive rating like? Where is Trey Young on the defensive scale?
Terrible. Like one of
Yeah.
the worst defensive
Yeah.
players in the NBA, Timmy. Like really seriously deficient.
Let's just abuse him.
That's what we're gonna do. We're
Well,
gonna
Brogdon will
absolutely-
really.
He has no interest in playing defense.
no interest.
None.
Well, speaking of that, I'd like to see. I think the whole key will be: will Marcus Smart decide to play this? He hasn't. He's been garbage all year.
I
think
think
time for
I
him
think
to come to play.
it does. I think he's been injured. My guess is that we're gonna find out he's been dealing with a pretty good injury for a while.
Because
Joe.
he's only been showing up for like maybe 10% of the time he's in there.
Then Maz has to put White in. Like
He's afraid
Missoula
to.
can't.
No.
Missoula can't. Well, I don't think that's true, Joe.
I think
I
Marcus
would be
tells him what
surprised.
to do.
No,
I don't think
no.
I don't think so. I think in the playoffs you're going to see he started changing things in the last 10, 15 games. I think you'll see if Marcus doesn't have it, he'll put Brogdon or White in.
Look,
I do believe
I
that.
would like to see Marcus's intensity come back. The Marcus of last year, the defensive player of the year. This year, he's just been a shadow of himself.
Well, that's part of it, Joe, because he's had a nondescript year. He doesn't have the cachet to be telling Missoula what to do or yapping during the timeouts. He's got to establish his game again. And I think he, like Russ said, he comes to play in the playoffs. You're going to see a different Marcus.
That's what I've been hoping all year long. Just watching him just coast through this regular season. I just been pinning my hopes on a big playoff push like Jimmy Butler does every year.
So what are we thinking? It's Smart's ankle?
That's what
he's had an
said.
ankle. He's had an ankle injury, for a while. And
The
look, I
same
think
one.
I think he's had good stretches. But Joe's right. I mean, he hasn't had a great year. But I don't think I think it's not fair to say it's a lack of intensity or. Look, by the way, he may be getting older. He's got a lot of miles on him.
That's true.
He's like a Kevin Youkilis guy. Like
A lot of
was-
flops, a lot of hit and
Once-
check.
Once Youkilis's body
Every
started going on him.
game that I've ever gone to, at one point in the game, it looks like he's been stabbed, shot, and set on fire.
Yeah.
And you say, get the ambulance, because this guy's
Yeah.
not getting up. And 30 seconds later, he's running full speed down the court.
Yeah.
That's a great point, Russ. He really is. I mean, he may be just a guy that he was not going to have a 14-year career in the NBA. He's going to have a 10-year.
Yeah.
I would hope he does.
Yeah. Well, the good news is they don't have him. He signed to a pretty good contract. You could still, it's fine. There's no long-term issues. It's just, we'll see.
Also, the good news is we have White and Brogdon. I mean,
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank God for Derek White, right?
Talk about depth. You know what I mean?
Oh my
Unbelievable.
God, Brad
Yeah.
Stevens could not get enough credit for this team. I'm telling you, what the moves that he made. I'll briefly talk. The Celtics have either the 33rd or 35th pick in the draft
Mhm.
this year because of Brad's doings, and they gave up ultimately either the 29th or the 30th pick for Brogdon. So really, they basically gave up nothing for Brogdon, being that had they had both that first round pick and that second round pick, they're probably moving the second round pick for cash or a stash.
Right. Yeah. No, it's
Comparison
pretty
to
nice.
the dumpster fire the bench was a few years ago.
Oh my God. It's a great point, Timmy. Great point.
Trey Waters and all.
Carson, Edwards, a guy. Literally, that whole bench, Timmy, they're not in the league at all. They literally are working at Wendy's drive-through right now.
Some of
That
them look like they were 5'5" out there. They look like water bugs running around the court.
Well, that's because Danny collected second round picks like stamps. He had 6 second round picks one year. He chose them all. Used
How is
them all.
Mhm.
Danny Ainge, how is he so brilliant in some one end? And let's
Yeah.
revisit that Rudy Gobert deal. is
Oh my God.
Oh,
we talked about this. I don't know. I think Russ was there. We talked about that if for those 9 players, 4 players and 5
Yeah.
picks, would you have done that for Jaylen Brown? And I think,
four first-round picks, right? 4.
yeah, is it 4 or 5? There's a pick.
Yeah,
swap.
I can't
think it's-
remember.
There's,
even.
there's a
think
couple of
it's okay.
swaps in there.
4 first-round picks.
Yeah, 4 first-round picks plus 4 quality players plus a pick swap. How does he make deals like that, which is just may end up being the greatest deal in the history of sports, and then the Garnett-Pierce deal, and then
Yeah, I mean, it's
not-
like everyone's got their flaws, right? I mean, Belichick's
takes
got his
advantage.
flaws. Even the best of them have their flaws. I'm sure Scotty Bowman had his flaws. Like, they can't do everything great.
But you, I mean, wouldn't you argue to say that his lack of moves or the move with Kendrick Perkins cost us at the very least one more title?
Yes, and he made the Garnett trade and drafted made the Markelle Fultz trade, drafted Jaylen Brown. So it's like for every like really questionable move, you can point to like those are not obvious moves. Trading Markelle Fultz for Jason Tatum and a pick was not an obvious thing to do.
What did
He's
that
good
pick
at taking advantage of other GMs that aren't too swift.
that
the
pick
other
end up
pick-
being Russ's James Young?
No, that pick ended up being the other waste of flesh, Romeo Langford, I think. And that, by the way, that wasn't Danny's fault. Like that pick looked like it was going to be a top 5 pick, and it ended up being 13 or whatever it
Yeah.
was. Like
We
they
had
got
bad
luck
luck.
on those 2 picks. Yeah,
Yeah.
they got bad luck on those 2 picks.
But they
The
did move
coin
Langford.
flip.
Langford was part of the D White deal, right?
Langford was
With
part of the
Jay
D.
Rich,
White
yeah.
deal. That's right. Yes.
So
Jay
they
Rich in a first round pick.
And Neesmith, the other wasted 13th or 14th pick, was part of the Brogdon deal because
Yeah.
so Brad came in and moved those assets.
Yeah. But yeah, all right. So end of the season, we're giving grades. Brad Stevens.
Hey,
Yeah.
like I don't know, maybe could he have gotten someone at the deadline who was better than Muscala? I don't know. Like, you look at the team now, they're going to play 8 guys in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Muscala's not going to play. Pritchard's not going to play. They're only going to play 8 guys.
Lake may play.
What's that?
Griffin may
Who's
play.
that?
Griffin.
Yeah, Griffin might play at times. Yeah, you're
I
right.
think he's good. Mazzella likes him a lot. Missoula. Great.
Oh,
Secret-
come on.
Timmy
Jesus.
being hard.
B+.
I never won you as a teacher.
B+. It's a rookie
Unless he
coach.
moves his timeout selections better, unless he makes some change. I think
But he
gotta-
has changed. He
Timeout.
has started calling timeouts more.
I'll give him 2 grades. For a rookie coach, he gets an A. For against every other, in the perspective of every other coach in the NBA, I'll give him a B.
He's had some really weird, a lot of times
The end of the games, he has a lot of trouble.
Made that one great play call where smart to Tatum, but other than that, it's been the Tatum dribble back, step back, old school, what we grew to hate, end to the game.
But let's remember, that's a classic. Doc Rivers did it. Most of these guys do it.
Yeah.
Most of these guys get the ball to their star, tell them to make a play, because you don't get fired for getting the ball to your best player.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Great
Well,
point.
that's why that Toronto last second shot worked. It went to Anunoby, who no one expected.
It's
And
not like
he
Jason
drained
Tatum's the
it.
only one on the team that can shoot the ball. You know what I mean?
No, I understand, Timmy. The whole Steve Kerr kind of winning a title for the Bulls instead of Michael Jordan. I understand that whole premise. But yes, it would be nice if they spread. But I don't blame Missoula for that. I give him an A minus. He was put in an incredibly difficult situation. And this team had the second best record in basketball. And if they make it to the finals, they'll have home court advantage. So other than playing Milwaukee Bucks, they have home court advantage.
That makes Wick happy.
As best as we can hope for. It's now about the playoffs and whether he can make a name for himself in the playoffs. Because if they win a title, he's the hottest commodity in coaching in the NBA.
Well, I kind of hope he's just been running that same old play for the last 20 games at the end of the close ones and saving something for the playoffs. because that won't work in the playoffs.
All right, boys. We're gonna go to. We have to do it. We have to go to the Boston Red Sox.
Now, Scotty, you took a pick. I would not in a million years have picked that out to be Theo Epstein walking down the street. I mean,
Yeah, but he recognized his brother in a
I
heartbeat.
recognize. No,
his
no.
brother, I wouldn't have known that was him. If you would give me 50 guesses who you were standing next to, I wouldn't have guessed it. For our millions of viewers out there, Scotty had a selfie today with Theo Epstein and his twin brother.
Yeah, Paul, who's been on our show.
Yes, very nice guy. I would not in a million years. Did you recognize him, or you just
That must have been cool.
brother?
Oh, I saw Paul. Paul's he's a big kid, and
Yeah. He
so
sticks out.
I see him. I see Paul like 3 times a week, and been friends with him for a long time. So I saw Paul. I actually did not see Theo. Theo was overtaking a picture of a car, a sports car, and then Theo came. So I would say, "Hey, Paul, what's up?" And then Theo came over, and yeah, it took me a
That's cool.
second because he had a wool cap.
That's
on
really
and stuff.
cool.
Realized, and we had a nice talk for 10 minutes. We were talking about a bunch of stuff.
So did he disclose what he's at? What's he taking office from the Red Sox? Or?
Well, he played a role in the changing of the rules for
Oh,
yeah.
good.
yeah.
Didn't he chair the committee that?
Well, he was a
He did.
consultant.
Yeah,
So was that right?
That was his work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was his work. That was all him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's obviously a brilliant guy. Yeah. Just great talk. Obviously a Brookline guy, and we're talking about Brookline and stuff.
He's
But
on MLB's payroll full time now.
a consultant. So
No, he's a consultant.
there's been a lot of talk that he'd be the next commissioner of baseball, but I don't think Manfred's going anywhere.
No, and the problem with Theo is that he's too independent. I can you see Theo like just kowtowing to a bunch of freaking millionaires as his job? Like who wants to do that? He could do better than that.
Yeah.
No.
He'd be
He
in
could do
a
better than that.
dressed up in a gorilla suit and going out the door and inside of a
Out
year
the
or so.
door. I
I
totally
wouldn't be
agree with
surprised
you,
if Theo
Joe.
Epstein goes into the political world.
Yeah, I think it's much more likely to be that than
mean,
commissioner
Probably
of
got
baseball.
a
Commissioner is one of the great jobs in the world of any of the 4 major sports.
It is.
Yeah.
Probably got a piggy bank full of money and can pretty much call his shots.
Oh yeah, he's got plenty of dough. I could tell.
I mean, imagine what somebody would throw him to come and run their organization right now.
Well, he's getting paid $10 million a year, Timmy, to run the Cubs. So I checked that out today. So you don't have to worry about him financially. I think he's doing pretty well. Look, the Red Sox are a train wreck. Players like Kiki Hernandez, Christian Arroyo, Connor Wong, Justin Turner. I just named 4 guys in the starting lineup. I would venture to say they're not even major league players anymore.
We knew this going in, Scotty. Why did we know it and the Red Sox didn't know? We all knew it. Did you mention the catcher?
Yeah, Wong, McGuire.
Wong and McGuire, they both can't cut the mustard. Kike leads the major leagues in errors at shortstop, and he has no range to boot.
He's 0 for 28. His last 28 up at bats, he's 0 for 28.
Mm-hmm.
I would do worse. You can't do worse, right?
Is this the worst starting lineup that you can remember in your lifetime for the Boston Red Sox?
Well, without Duvall, look, I mean, the guy was really good. And that's a big loss.
He was the only shining star, right? I mean, pretty much.
Well, they were scoring a lot of runs, and it wasn't just him. But I think even now, after he's been missing for 3 games, he still leads the team in home runs and RBIs.
Oh, he's going to lead that 2 months from now, Joe.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll still have those statistics. Justin Turner looks absolutely gone.
Yeah, I mean, you got to hope that this is just an old guy who needs to get himself together and acclimated. But if he doesn't hit, we're screwed. Without
guys coming over
and Turner,
guys coming over from the National League usually have a tough year at first. Both pitchers and everyday players.
Just what we predicted all winter, gentlemen.
Well, look, if they get swept by Tampa, they'll be how many games out of first place?
Yeah,
Already?
I mean,
Tampa
right.
will be 13-0.
They'll be 8 games out of first place, and it'll
Right.
be April, not even April 15th. I mean, can you and this is kind of what we talked about. Would they even be able to be in the race in April?
No, they're going to stink all year, Scotty. If anything, they're going to get worse.
So it's not we look. This is a baseball show, always has been. We know our baseball, and why doesn't Heim know this?
I read that article that little snow job that was in the Globe about Heim Bloom's. It was a crock of shit. It was a giant crock of shit. I mean, this guy lives in a fantasy world. I mean, we're working on this and working on that. What about the players who actually have to do it? I don't know if systems develop this. If a guy can't pitch, he can't pitch. I don't give a fuck how much training you give him.
Right.
Pitch.
Yeah, you're right, Timmy. Russ, even like the Michael Walkers of the world who pitched really well for us last year and was on the market till I think actually maybe spring training. The Red Sox could have made a deal with him, and he's been lights out this season already.
Look, yes, that's totally true. Look, I think a lot of this just comes down to how many blue chip star players do they have, and they got one, right? And they used to have 3, 4. You count 3, 4 on those Red Sox teams.
Russ, guys, you stop flipping through the channels to watch their at bat. No more.
Just one guy, right? And so you say, all right, well, if you don't have more than one guy, then you need other guys to step up. And Yoshida might be fine, but he's not going to be a blue chip superstar. Casas, I said it. I mean, I think he's going to struggle. I think ultimately he'll be a good baseball player, but like he's a rookie. Like how many rookies come in and hit 25 home runs and are productive? Not that many.
So Heim, it's almost ludicrous that they'll brag about how much their payroll is with such an absolute pile of crap on the field.
Yeah,
who's responsible?
It's an insipid lineup, and then as we've seen when Duvall goes down, there is no depth behind it either. It's not just that the lineup they put out there is bad. What's behind it is bad too.
At least Belichick.
The Emperor has no clothes.
If Belichick had depth, you might complain about he spread the money around well, throughout the years. If this guy get hurt, he had someone pretty good to take his place. That's not
the whole premise, being middle class. Look, the first guy who came up from Worcester was Bobby Dahlbeck. That's all you need to know. Bobby Dahlbeck. And all of a sudden
failed 3 years in a row.
We're going to play him in multiple positions. What are we doing here? I mean, this is the Boston Red Sox. Now I'm changing. I don't think Heim makes it to Memorial Day.
I should. And,
really, I'm serious.
And you ask him questions, and I mean, he's got to be a great salesman or something because he's got that whole front office believing in this pile of crap, like backing him and believing in him, and thinking that he has this magic recipe, which is absolutely absurd.
The biggest group that should be rooting for the Celtics and Bruins to have a very deep playoff run are the Red Sox, because they don't want any light shined on them in the next couple of months. If we get a parade, then the Red Sox if we get a parade, do the Red Sox skate through this season?
No, there's going to be nothing else to talk about in the summer, Scotty. There are 2 radio channels on this town that are 100% dedicated to sports.
They'll have to have the Bruins and the Celtics throwing out the first pitch of every
they will
in August and September.
They're going to be begging for football training camp to start.
So Timmy, you say they do not skate. If one of the Bruins or the Celtics win a title, they still face huge scrutiny in this town.
Because Scotty, this is a baseball town. We all have, every one of us owns a Red Sox hat. I guarantee you that 90% of the population of this city has a Red Sox hat somewhere in their closet or something. These talk shows, they get off on ripping them. They get off. Like that's they love it. They'd almost rather see them stinking than doing well. They love to bash.
Russ, do the Red Sox skate?
No, because people are going to wake up. Look, the chances are, look, the odds are that neither the Bruins nor the Celtics, just statistically speaking, the odds are that neither of them win, right? If one of them wins, that's nice. We get a parade. Well, no, statistically.
I know, no, you're right, of course.
Right? Like, we may get a parade, but no matter even if we get a parade, people are going to wake up in July, and here's the difference. We're going to have a crappy Red Sox team, or we're going to have a Patriots team that can't be, like it used to be when you had Belichick and Brady, it was just like, get me to July 20th when the camps open.
Yeah.
And then we're into the football season. Guess what? The Patriots aren't coming in to save the Red Sox this year.
No, they're not. I know. So what, Henry's going to be forced, Joe, to fire Heim. He's going to have to.
I think so.
The villagers are going to have the pitchforks and the torches out, and he's going to have to give him someone, and Heim is the one. That's why Cora's sitting in the catbird seat.
Giant payroll, horrible results.
If Heim feels the heat, will he attempt to make a big deal in the next few weeks and send off some of those prospects to try to save his job?
Do you think at the beginning of the season that's even doable, Scotty?
Well, otherwise, what are you going to do? You're going to keep on rolling this horrific.
He's going to give up a star in May.
I'm just saying, what is his alternative? What is he going to do?
He's run out of alternatives. There is no alternative. He had a chance to do something in spring training. He blew it. The whole Mookie thing, whatever. He totally misread the market with Xander. And then
that was really a year ago, year plus.
He's 10 steps behind on the free agent market. He comes in when like it's over and overpays for a
totally
player.
Timmy's right. He is a master at misreading the market. The one thing that you can blame on Chaim for his craft, the actual craft of GMing, right? You could say the Red Sox told him to trade Mookie and all this other stuff, right? But his mistakes have been, and it's the GM's job, read the market.
Yeah, right.
Read the market. That's not John Henry's job. That's what this dude gets paid for. What's the market going to be next year for Xander? And he misread it. He misread the market for Mookie Betts. 6 months after they traded Mookie Betts, guys like, imagine what the Nationals got for Juan Soto.
Machado, yeah.
And Machado, they look like NBA trades. They look like Rudy Gobert trades.
Yeah.
And this nitwit traded Mookie Betts for Verdugo, a backup catcher, and Jeter Downs.
And Jeter Downs was supposed to be the main guy in that deal.
Look at what every one of these other stars went for. Literally the deal after Mookie Betts, the next superstar deal after Mookie Betts. Every one of those guys went for major assets.
It's right.
That's his job. This is his job.
How long will it take us to recover from Heim?
I don't know. Not that long. Look, if they brought in, the next Dave Dombrowski, not that long, because they just deal off all the goddamn assets and just buy a team, right?
But unfortunately, there's not many assets down there. The farm doesn't have.
No. They got a lot of.
There's assets.
Single A is huge. They got a lot of that.
There's assets.
Are we already looked into what the free agent market for next year? Who goes on the market?
Well, no,
I don't know.
It's Ohtani. That's
but he's not coming to Boston. He's staying on the West Coast. Right?
Oh, if things go bad enough, John Henry will make sure that Ohtani comes here. He'll want to stay on the West Coast. I agree with you.
I mean,
but who knows?
Obviously, he's buddies with Yoshida. I don't know if that would play in any way. But look, Ohtani gets $60 million if he gets anything.
10 years, 60 million.
10 years, $60 million, the biggest sports contract in the history of sports, right? $600 million.
Mm-hmm.
What's surpassed that, right? With the Red Sox,
I think so.
Well, the soccer players do, but they're
Red
another.
Sox be willing to do that. It would change their franchise forever.
Yeah.
Well, remember what I said about Aaron Judge, which is just like sign him for 50 million, 60 million a year
Yeah.
for 3 years and say he can go back into the market.
Yeah.
And Russ, you know what? You look at all the other shit money that they're throwing away, right?
Terrible.
Take 2 or 3 of those absolute shit players. What difference would it make for like 3 or 4 of them? The Pawtucket kids could be doing the
Exactly.
same. What's Kiki 0 for 26? We could have someone for
Oof.
$1 million a year going 0 for 26. If we had Pawtucket shortstop here right now, he couldn't be doing any worse than Kiki.
Nope.
Well,
And
he'd
Hunter
be better
Renfroe hit-
defensively for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And Hunter Renfroe hit another 520-foot home run yesterday.
Oh my God. Yeah, right. We don't even talk about these deals. I mean, you can't, and we're still paying, like you said, Timmy, JBJ $11 million this year. That could have gone toward Ohtani. We're paying Chris Sale like what, $30 million. There's $40 million.
That's what I'm realizing. You take all these little $10 million contracts that no one, you skip a few of those, and a $30 million all of a sudden becomes $60 million that you have to spend.
Chris Sale, JBJ,
We
Kike.
can't blame
Is
Sale on
$50
him.
million
Though.
is 50. All you got to find is $10 more million and you get Ohtani. So
Can't
your
blame
point is
Sale on
perfect.
him, but we can blame JBJ on him. That's for darn sure.
So, so is the season? The season appears to be lost. Like
Seems
I
like
would
it.
say this feels. What does this feel like? The Bobby Valentine, even in Bobby Valentine, we were in it.
Oh, Healy started decently.
We were in like mid-season. I think we were still fairly competitive. I can't remember the Red Sox team being lost and done in April ever. But this is happening.
You look at the lineup, Scott. There is no humanly possible way that this team gets any better.
No, yeah, I texted you guys yesterday or 2 days ago. This team's going to get no hit at least once during the season, Russ.
You did say that. That's true.
And the next injury, guess who's coming up? Jaron Duran. I mean,
Oh my God,
the stuff they bring up from the minors is crap.
Joe, did you really have to go there with me? Like that's a trigger for me, as the young kids say. You've now just triggered me,
trigger.
Russ has been triggered.
Fucking idiot. He's just sucks, that guy. He's just the worst. I do not want to see him play baseball.
Well, he's supposed to.
He's double bad. He sucks, and he's
He's the kind of guy that Heim loves. Young, fast. That's
fast.
kind
That
of
might be the
ideal.
positive. That
Great,
might be
good for him. Yeah, that's awesome.
Still second. You know what I mean? That's about that. That might be some hope. He ever gets on base.
We got to go to the Bruins. We got to go to the Bruins to make Russ happy. Put a smile on.
Yeah,
him.
please. Anything but this.
Nothing puts a smile.
Bergie.
More than the
Can't do
Boston Bruins. All right, this is just getting too painful, guys. I cannot take it. First question. I'm beyond this, and then the pain is that if the Bruins don't win the cup now, I don't even know.
Relax. They're gonna win. They're gonna win.
It's okay. Yeah.
So I'm talking to Hollywood Pete, and he says, and he's a big Bruins fan, and he says that he thinks Omar and Swayman alternate during the playoffs.
Yes, they've done it all
Might
year.
not be a bad idea.
Why not?
I am pretty sure, and you guys can remind me, no NHL team has ever won a Stanley Cup alternating goaltending.
Yeah, but how many NHL teams have had 2 of the top 5 goalies in the league at the same time?
I understand.
It presents problems to teams. Like when you're in a 7-game series, they're watching film of the goalie. Where is his weaknesses, and they try to exploit those. Is he 5-hole weak? Is he top left weak? And if you keep switching the goaltenders, they can't get a beat on it, and you keep them off balance. It's like 2 different kinds of running backs in football. I think it can work.
Obviously, you rest them too. I mean, part of the whole Tuukka Rask, slander is the fact that Tuukka Rask was a slim guy, and by the time of the end of the Stanley Cup, the guy probably was down to 150 pounds. He was wasted. So if he had a Swayman, we'd probably have at least 1 cup more, or maybe even 2.
Maybe. Yeah.
So taking that into account,
Definitely in 13.
So taking into account, you won't have a tired goaltender.
I mean, it's interesting. I don't have look, you probably want Omar to play 4 out of 7 games, right? In a series. All right. Well, that I don't, and if one of these guys looks soft, then you put the other one in for the extra game.
Well, all right. Timmy, what does Montgomery do? Does he stick with one goaltender?
No, because as these guys said, both of these guys are playing lights. Now, if one guy gets super hot, the hot card. If one guy has a bad night, maybe he gets. I imagine Swayman. Allmark's the guy, right? If Swayman has an off night, I could see him then going with Allmark.
Right. I think that's right, Timmy. He's not going to leave Allmark if he has a bad night.
Yeah,
right.
if Swayman shows he's not up to the task or whatever, it'll go full-time Allmark. But, imagine a rested goalie the way these guys are playing. I mean,
because they go every other day, right? And
yeah, it's a physically demanding job, I like a rested goalie. Like I said, unless it'll be Allmark is 1 and Swayman's 1A. So if Swayman shows some chinks in the armor, I think he'll switch to Allmark. But until they're both like playing freaking lights out right now. That's what gives me optimism about the playoffs is the goaltending.
Okay, Pete said one other thing he wanted to share with you. His favorite Bruin right now. Guess his favorite Bruin.
Bertuzzi.
Hathaway.
Yeah.
Well, of course, right?
Hathaway could have been on the 71 Bruins. You know what I mean?
He's got a good Irish name.
Yeah.
He's a hard-nosed character.
He's a local guy. He's from Maine.
That's right.
I watched some video the other night. I watched some video the other night of Hathaway. It was Bertuzzi actually and Marchand going at. I don't know why, but didn't Marchand used to fight these guys all the time?
I forgot that Pete was anti-Italian. Shame on me for saying Bertuzzi instead of saying a friggin' Irish
How do you
name.
like Bertuzzi? Pasternak's production is tripled and Zaka's production is doubled with Bertuzzi feeding them.
Well, his point was now all of a sudden you don't have a rest. Every shift you either have Marchand, Bertuzzi, or Hathaway in the playoffs to just be your fucking pain in the ass to the other team.
That's exactly what they needed. They needed, some teeth. They had no teeth before those guys. Maybe they had Frederick, but
and Greer.
Now we got some teeth. St. Louis taught us a valuable lesson a few years ago.
Yeah.
Okay,
Orlov is no cream puff either. That was another good ad.
Okay, so you know how I like to sign players to lengthy contracts. So, really, help me here.
Oh, Jesus. Will you not do this, please? Can you give us a break with this?
No, I'm not giving you a break. So, what the Bruins benefit right now to negotiate with those three, Hathaway, Bertucci, and Orlov, get them signed.
Bertuzzi.
Get them signed.
Bertucci's is the pizza place.
Yeah, I'm hungry. Get them signed. Come on, stay with me here, Russ. Get them signed, and then all of a sudden you don't have to worry about
the hard cap in that one.
Your approach here has been torpedoed. You would have signed Chris Sale. You would have signed.
No, don't.
You would have
No, nobody wanted that.
Right.
You want to do
that approach is what happened to the Chicago Blackhawks. Remember how good they were, with Taves and Kane, and they signed everyone to the big contracts, and now they got no one in. They're down to 0.
Okay, but listen,
worst team in the league.
If you sign these guys now, then you could trade them.
No one wants the big contracts, Scotty. No one wants those.
I think you'll see some. I can't name names, but I'm sure they have some guys in the pipeline that they're going to need to make space for.
Okay, but all right. So of the three, first of all, Hathaway would come cheap, right?
Right, you can get him.
You are unbelievable.
Orlov.
You are unbelievable.
Orlov. You could never have enough. My number one target was
Orlov is number 1. Bertuzzi's number 2, and you let Hathaway walk. You can get a Hathaway. I'm sorry.
Those defensemen are like bars of gold.
Totally, Timmy.
Orlov would be the guy you are focused on.
So Orlov looks like Ray Bork Redux. Orlov reminds me of Ray
got that
Bork,
similar center of gravity.
right?
You know what I mean? That sturdy.
Yeah.
He's got that heavy shot when he just comes
And
sailing
Scotty,
into the slot.
if you sign one of them, if you only sign Orlov and you let Bertuzzi and
That
Hathaway
would be
walk,
that
you've
would be a
done
grand slam if you signed
grand
Orlov.
slam, grand slam.
Okay, so and then most likely, if you sign Orlov, Taylor Hall probably gets traded.
Maybe, yeah,
Maybe.
I
just
think Hall's an
salary cap.
important part of this team. I think he's an important part of this team.
No, but somebody with a big contract.
But I think
Somebody needs to go. Yeah,
I think Bertuzzi gives you everything Hall does and more.
yeah, but
That's the thing.
I
If
don't
you're
know.
going to have to make a choice between one or the other.
Well, you might base it on contract. I think Hall.
Yes.
I don't think you're giving Hall enough credit for what he brings to this team.
so
brings
here's
a
the
lot.
deal, guys. Timmy doesn't like the Italians either. Just saying.
But Bertuzzi has
Hall-
really impressed me.
Listen, my gang that I grew up with was half
I
Guinean
know
and
they're half Italian
mixed.
and half Irish. I know.
And
I'm the
guess-
product of
guess-
an Italian.
Guess whose houses I was eating at, Russell?
I know. I'm the product of an
You
Italian
know,
Irish marriage.
It was
so-
a choice of boiled potatoes or
boiled
lasagna.
potatoes.
I wonder where you ate.
That's what I
Boiled, but that sounds wonderful. Sign me up. Well, I've always loved both the Irish and the Italians equally.
Yeah, exactly.
God bless you
Yeah.
both. But when there's an Armenian player on the Bruins, you guys better.
Oh, then
Yeah.
we've hit
But getting
gold.
back to the Orlov is the
Not a
goal.
lot of ice in Armenia.
I'm
Orlov,
with you, Timmy.
Orlov is now you're talking McAvoy. You're talking
Yeah,
Lindholm.
Lindholm
Lindholm.
and
Oh.
Orlov. I mean, we're talking like 77 Canadians here.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Carlo, Grizzly. It's a good group.
I don't think
But
they.
those three are top shelf defensemen.
But wait,
those-
here's
Yep.
my question then, and Russ, maybe you know this. So there is a hard cap, but
Yeah.
you sign them now. It doesn't. It's not affected.
Yeah, it does. Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
they would have to. Would you sign them now? You sign them later. It's all they're gonna be extensions. They're gonna go into effect next year. It doesn't matter if you sign them now, cap wise. It doesn't matter.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Then you would. These are all assets.
Look,
Yeah. Any
Look,
extension would
Scotty,
start next year anyway.
If they announced an extension for Orlov next year, that would be. I'd shout that from the rooftops. I'm totally down with that.
Yeah.
I think like Hathaway, you can get guys like him. And you say if Bertuzzi really, like to your point, in all honesty, if Bertuzzi really plays quite well through the playoffs, which is the only thing he hasn't proven, then I would get rid of Hall to take Bertuzzi in.
Because of he does bring a little grit that Hall
Right.
doesn't bring to the
Right.
game. Okay, which in
Yeah.
the playoffs can be important.
Right. He's a
Hall-
little bit of like a slime ball, right? Like you need a
Yeah.
little slime ball in there, right?
As we've
He's a
seen-
great passer too. He's
Yeah, exactly.
look at what Pasternak and Zach are doing with him passing it to him.
Hall,
They're
Hall,
going through the roof.
the Boston Bruins fans like guys with a little grit and a little slime
Right.
to them, and Hall
Right.
has
Know how to
zero-
use their butt end. You
Hall
know?
has zero
Yeah.
slime on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hall is a former MVP. Hall was part of this resurgence of this team.
It was.
He was. Totally. I don't want to get rid of Hall. I think Hall's a fantastic player. He
You
gets
want to
injuries.
try to, but
Well,
he's
you
a
know,
third
obviously-
line. He's the third line guy now.
I would assume you would
Well, that's
save
a damn
some
good
money,
third line. If Hall's a third line
It
guy.
certainly is with Coyle, him, and
but you would
That's
save
a
money.
Third line.
You would be paying Bertuzzi less than Hall, I would assume, right? Or am I wrong there?
I would
Wrong.
assume so. Yeah, I would. I'd have to imagine that Bertuzzi's going to make less than Hall. If he does, then
no, he'll be making more than Hall.
really? Well, then
Yes.
I don't know that. I'd take
I don't
Bertuzzi
think
over
that's
Hall.
why I don't think he's going to resign.
Right.
Well, Sweeney, when he made those deals, post deals, said that he was working on signing all three of them already. So
Well, you know what? Now's the time to be doing it when it's all fun and games. And let me tell you, there's nothing more fun than playing on a winning team.
No.
Nothing
Mhm.
more fun. You know, if you're ever going to get a guy, now is the time to do it.
yeah,
Because
but also he
every-
gave up a lot. He gave up, real, stuff, number one picks and stuff. I mean, you don't want these guys more than a rental for.
all right, Taylor Hall is making $6 million a year.
Yeah, I could see
Bertuzzi already
getting
makes
around
right
5.
around that. I think 5.96.
That's about right what he's worth.
Yeah.
I
That's
would
gonna be
say.
very
I'd say,
interesting.
I'd say that's fair for the Bruins and that's fair for Taylor Hall.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's very exciting. All right, boys. I think we're playing the Islanders, right?
It hasn't been
Is that right?
decided yet.
No, not to determine.
Might be the Penguins.
Tickets and it says to be determined still.
It's Penguins is
I'd
most likely.
gladly take the Penguins.
Yeah,
I
they
don't
still
think the
have
Penguins have
Sheldon.
anything
Yeah.
left in the tank.
Yeah,
They got nothing left in the
Crosby's still a great player, but Malkin's not the guy he used to be.
Yep.
They
Those
seem like
are
a
usually fun games.
John,
Actually.
John Henry owns the Penguins too, right?
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Exactly. Those are fun games, though. Penguins, Bruins.
Yeah, they're both black and gold. So
Let's watch John Henry cry as they go lose 4 in a row. Yeah.
I know. So we're gonna see John Henry in the owner's box rooting for the Penguins. Oh, that's really gonna work his Q rating here in Boston even better.
oh,
He's not gonna
he's not gonna go to the games.
Can it get worse? Can his Q rating get worse in Boston right
Yeah,
now?
if the Penguins beat the Bruins.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
And then they're interviewing John Henry after the series, right?
oh my Lord. Oh, hey, there's a
Right.
fire in Brookline. Yeah, that looks like it's John Henry's house. Holy shit. All
I
right,
miss it. Right down the street of College.
Oh, 40 Cottage Farm Road.
That is with
All
the,
right.
with the moat and the gate and the guard dogs and the
with the two
cameras and the
barbershops, the two hair salons, Joe.
Yep.
There's two hair salons.
One for guests, so they don't go in her and Linda's beauty salon.
Oh my! Well, she deserves everything she gets.
Absolutely.
All right,
you know what her punishment is. We all know what her punishment is.
Yeah, she's got to sleep with him.
She's got to lay next to that.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Looks like a corpse.
Yeah, he's not an impressive looking person, and he's not one of my favorite people now. Please sell the team, John. All right, we go.
That reminds me of that song by the Eagles. There, you know, you can't hide your lion eyes. You know.
Just update from the Grandstanders live desk, and boys, Chris Sale, and we love him, Nana Chrissy. He's just given up in the first inning a 3-run homer. So
Did he really?
Yeah.
How long till the injury? I have 3 games. How many we in now? How many?
I had 15.
This is his 3rd game.
There'll be an injury. There'll be an injury claim.
To be honest with you, we may want him to get injured the way he's playing.
There'll be a physical reason. They have to come up with a physical reason now why he's getting fucking shelled. Right?
Yeah, this is not going to be pretty. All right, boys, we go.
He'd be pitching better if he didn't have this physical ailment that he just found, a new one.
Yeah, exactly. Hangnail. We're going to go to the Patriots, and I'm tired of the Mac Jones. Nobody likes him. Rumors.
Everyone's
Let's just
tired.
move on from this stuff, okay?
It's just smoke and mirrors to fill the sports pages during the off season.
I don't like him.
Well, look, he's the quarterback of the New England Patriots, right, Russ?
I don't like him.
Unless
I
Bailey's
think so going in. Yeah, I mean, you know how I feel. I think he's going to have a bit of a resurgence. So I think you're at this late stage, unless you're going to get Lamar Jackson, I think he's your quarterback going next year. I have no interest in getting anyone else.
Plus, not even based on his performance. I don't like the optics of him in games, his behavior, his body language. That's what I don't like about him.
He has to work on that. There's no question. But is Bill pulling a fast one and trying to build up the Bailey Zappi so he can trade him?
Oh, the pump and dump?
You know, I don't think he can trade Zappi unless he's got someone else sitting at number 2.
And you can't trade Mac. No one's going to give you anything for him.
What does he got
If you
after
think you're
that?
gonna- You know, people are going to. The only good thing you can say about Mac is he's under control as far as the contract.
You trade
That would be
Zappi.
the only thing that people might like for a
Trade
back.
Zappi. Where does he go? Who's he got?
I don't know.
I think he's. Wouldn't you, if you were Belichick, if you felt like Zappi could win you, could be a quarterback for 4 games, win you 2 or 3 of them, just keep him around as an inexpensive backup, right?
I know, but the chatter.
He's 2-0 in his 2 starts, right?
It's
Right.
weird. I mean, why are we talking? Why is there so much talk about Bailey Zappi? I mean,
Because Mac Jones, between his performance last year and his body language and his emotional performance, That's why, Scotty. He alienated me. I'm sure he alienated a lot of people.
No, everyone on the defense hates his guts. That screaming episode there with the
cocky little
ankle,
spoiled brat
they
is how
didn't
he
know
was.
they didn't know what to do with them. And then that tackle on Jones, that was the most pathetic football play in the history of the game.
Russ, the personnel in an NFL team changes so much year to year. I mean, again, he's the quarterback. How much carryover in the locker room? I don't see any.
I think Devin McCourty told you all you need to know about how the locker room felt with Matt. I'm sure there were a handful of guys.
What did he say? What did he say, Russ? What did he say?
Devin was like, people, he thinks Mac's the guy. And there were guys who wanted Zappy, but like I think McCourty put his weight behind Mac, and at that point in time, I think he's speaking for the locker room.
Oh no! But then Devin, when he went on his brother's show, sang a different tune and said more than half the team was against Mac, and they were on Zappy's side.
I don't know what that even means. I don't think they're verbalizing that. I mean, these guys are worried about
the defense didn't like him.
They're worried about their own jobs. I mean, they're not going to, I don't believe any of that stuff. I mean, geez, maybe they could have been better if they were talking less in the locker room and maybe lifting some weights or doing something.
I think the fact that Bill O'Brien's here, I think the slate is wiped clean. Now, by the way, if he goes out and pulls the same crap in the first 4 games, I think it's over for him. Yeah. If he does not have control over his emotions, if he does not run the offense, if he has a problem with Bill O'Brien, he's done. He's done in this town.
That's the big variable. Well, as much of an asshole as he is, and he appears to be, in my estimation, I have to give him a little bit of a pass for the coaching last year. I don't know how much of an effect that really had on everything, because we saw him his first year. He wasn't horrible. He went backwards last year. How much of that was the coaching? I don't know.
But Timmy, I don't know if he's an asshole more than just a whiny.
He's not a football player right off the bat, but there's no plan B. Bailey Zappi, okay, if you want to play him, now who's your plan B? There's go back to Mac. If they don't draft another quarterback or sign another quarterback, you are going to have either Mac or Zappi.
I'll tell you, I won't be
That's
surprised.
all you have. You have to use one.
One of these quarterbacks is sitting there at 14 that they like. There's someone that they've identified.
We picked one at 15.
I won't be surprised if they grab him.
There won't be anyone there.
There won't be anyone there. There's no way.
The good ones are always gone in the first 5 or 6.
Yeah, there's no way they're going to do. They'd have to trade up. And they have a lot of picks. If they traded up, Mac Jones would be out the door getting additional picks.
Maybe he might be part of a package. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, look.
But Tim, I don't think anyone really wants him.
I don't think that's true.
Like a 3-team deal almost,
There's a lot of teams who are quarterback starved right now. I mean, you're looking around the league. There's a lot of teams that don't know. That's why they're drafting. They're talking about drafting.
Yeah, they're looking for that guy, but they already know that Mac isn't going to be that guy.
I would not be shocked if it's the San Francisco 49ers who trade for Mac.
I wouldn't be shocked. I think it's a possibility.
They have that kind of,
and they need someone. They got Brock Purdy, and the kid Trey Lance. I don't know what the story is with him.
Mac has shown you put a ton of talent around him, he can do it. He did it at Alabama.
Okay, so when's the draft?
A
few weeks. Yeah.
Okay, who the Patriots going to draft? And if they keep their 14th pick. We'll start with Timmy. What position?
Oh, they should. I don't know if there's a receiver worthy of that pick. I mean,
the kid from Ohio State, but I don't think.
I don't know if he's worth that pick.
He's a slot receiver.
They seem to all be slot receivers.
Yeah, unfortunately.
It depends on who's available. A lot of these people have them picking. I guess there's a couple of good cornerbacks that might be there at that point. That kid, that lineman with the Polish name.
He's not gonna be around.
He'll be gone.
I
All
see
right,
them. I
give
see
me a
them taking
pick.
one of the top 2 cornerbacks.
Okay, Russell.
Cornerback. I'm with Timmy. I think that's just it'd be classic Bill.
Joe.
Yeah, he always zigs when everyone else zags. But I think part of the deal with Bill O'Brien was he gets the first pick, an offensive player. I don't know what it could even be a running back.
I think they trade down to about 18 and they go get Zach Flowers out of BC.
That'd be great. I'd love that.
Isn't there a freakishly good running back in the draft this year?
There
Yeah,
is
Bijan Robinson.
Yeah,
From Texas.
Like a generational running back, right?
Yeah, he'd be a top 5 normally, but people don't like running backs. But there was also a guy that Bill O'Brien really likes that was at Alabama that's a real speedster. He's a little skitterbug, type. But I think he can get him in the second round.
More like a second, third.
No, he'd be an early second.
I mean,
The kid from Alabama.
So how desperate are we for offensive linemen right now?
very.
I think we need a starter. We need a starter to come in.
So how many offensive linemen are like grouped into that top?
We're all set at guard. We're all set at center. We're all set at right tackle. We got 3 guys auditioning for left tackle, including Brent Brown.
Is there somebody who could be there at 14?
Broderick Jones, Alabama.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's the guy, and he really impressed during the Senior Bowl. I wouldn't be shocked if they pick him. I mean, I think they're going to pick. They're going to go for, like you said, Joe. I think they're going to give Bill O'Brien something for coming here.
I think they
would not
give
be
him.
unhappy with that. I would not. You can never have a bit of an offensive line.
Well,
Foundational pick.
the premise is that this guy will be, sitting there for the next 10 years.
Yeah, that's why an offensive lineman is always safe. He's good. He's going to have him for 10, 15 years. A running back, you might only have him for a year or 2 when he's injured. And
if that's the case, O'Brien gets his pick. I think it's an offensive lineman.
Wynn hasn't signed with anyone, has he?
No. He's rumored to be going to Pittsburgh, though.
Okay.
He may have even signed with Pittsburgh.
He's just injured all the time. It's like lighting money.
Here's a stat. Getting back to Chris Sale. Chris Sale's put 20 runners on base over 9 innings and allowed 5 home runs.
There's an injury after the game.
9 innings is a game, 1 game.
Mm-hmm.
There was an injury announcement after the game. I am predicting.
You might be right, Timmy.
Oh my God,
this is bad.
3. My number was 3.
Wow,
this is bad.
We're gonna get swept in Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna
good.
Boy, what a start! They what they had 3 shutouts in a row. Then they gave up 2 runs last night. They're just they're the best hitting team in the majors, and they're probably the best defensive team.
I'll leave you with this: they got swept by Pittsburgh.
I'm sorry. This will hasten Hines' departure. That's all I'll say.
They got swept by Pittsburgh at home. Pittsburgh had only swept 6 series in interleague play since interleague play started. Only 6. When interleague play's probably been around 20 years.
Used to it.
And they got swept at Fenway Park. Embarrassing.
We're the worst team.
And they weren't close games either.
And each of us have 19 more game tickets left. 19.
I'm hoping I get Ohtani anyways in that.
Oh no, yeah. Wait. Who has?
Let me check StubHub. What's the value?
Russ, you have Patriots there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have Ohtani.
do. Yeah.
He's gonna pitch.
Is he?
Yeah. We gotta.
He pitched last night.
No, he's gonna pitch. I thought, and also
That'd be great.
Ben Bradley. Steve Kirkshian's bringing Ben Bradley Jr. to the game.
Wow.
So
amazing.
So you guys, I know you're gonna have a nice comment. I told him that you would be there. That should be fun for you.
Yeah, All the President's Men is
No, that's his
one of
father.
my favorite movies. No, I know it's his father,
Yeah.
but like
But
that's
Ben Bradley Jr. was with the Globe for 25 years. He was
Yeah.
part of the whole, that group. Okay.
Spotlight. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So you should have fun
Amazing.
Monday. So you're going to see Otani and have good conversation. So that'll
Yeah.
be. All right, so boys, that's our show for tonight. I want to thank, of course, the fellows. Please check us out on our website at thegrandstanders.com and tune again next Wednesday night at 6 o'clock for another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman. Have a great and happy night.